Welcome to M-powerTV, where we leave a legacy of hope through conversations that uplift, educate, and inspire. Listen to incredible stories of people who overcame challenges and barriers. Celebrate victories, learn from setbacks, and push forward together. Want to be empowered? Let's go.
Hello and welcome to the show. My name is Lorna Grayling, and in studio today I have Dr. Karen Holland. She is an holistic health chiropractor and an amazing woman, might I say so myself, because I've actually visited your center and I love it, BalanceAble. And it's all about finding that balance, right, in your health, in your diet, in your body. So tell us a little bit more about what you do and why you're so passionate about it.
Well, I actually come from a background of athletic therapy and spent many years working with athletes in high performance fields and just working on the whole body, being able to get to that elite level. You want to look at everything. You want to look at nutrition. You want to look at, how each part of the body is functioning together. So when I moved to the United States in 2014, I decided to go back to school and become a chiropractor. So now I feel like really one of the big differences for our practice is that athletic performance piece connecting with chiropractic. So we don't just look at the muscular system or the skeletal system. We're looking at as many systems all together as possible. So the nutritional component comes into play even when we're looking at balance for function and for fall prevention. If you don't have the strength in those muscles, you can't have good balance.
So, you started studying at a much later stage in your life, right?
I graduated in 2018 with my chiropractic degree, and I did a nutrition master's degree at the same time, where I did a little overlap and graduated in 2019 with the master's in nutrition. So I really feel strongly that we can do a lot with nutrition to help prevent a lot of conditions that we see today in society. A lot of metabolic conditions, a lot of inflammatory conditions can be managed well with diet, but also, yes, some people are going to stay on medication, and that's how it is for some people. It's not about throwing away medication. It's just how to enhance your life and how to enhance where you're at, where you are right now, and improve your situation. Try to decrease your inflammation, if that means weight loss, if that means decreasing sugar, whatever it is, and improve your strength and your coordination and your agility.
Because the older we get, we don't always realize how much things change until one day when you kind of crunch down trying to pick something up and you're like, oh my goodness, like I'm struggling to get up right from the ground, because last week I could still easily stand up, and now this week I'm like, oh man. So
And that's a gradual process.
It's a gradual process, but you kind of realize that one day, like, oh man. And then to get back to finding that strength, that's
so
quite
even
something.
Our bodies do change over time, and if you one of the things people start to notice when they're in their 40s, their vision starts to change, and you become aware of it suddenly. But all of those other things, like losing bone mass and losing muscle mass, being able to live at a younger life where you capitalize on getting as much, strength in your bones and your muscles as possible, so you can maintain that longer. And then as that starts to decline, when, the body's constantly sort of breaking down and building up, and at some point the breaking down outweighs the building up, and so we need to try to do as much as we can to keep that going. And so again, it's really back to good food in to build all those single cells, and good exercise to maintain it and challenge the body to stay strong throughout the lifespan as long as possible.
Yeah, and I love the way that you go about it, because just to take this in a whole holistic level, and especially with the diet as well, because when I think chiropractic, I'm thinking click, 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 right? And then that's it. So you're doing something completely different, which is BalanceAble, and that's, why your name is that, but it's all about that balance. And I know you have this very amazing treatment that improves your balance. Tell us a little bit more about what it is that you do and how that works.
So the system is called ProBalance 360, and there are a number of chiropractors across the country that have the system. We're the only one in Brevard County that has it right now, and it's the only FDA cleared system that will evaluate both 2-foot and single leg stance balance. And so there's a lot of research out there right now looking at single leg stance for 10 seconds with your eyes closed as a standard for predicting outcomes for all diseases. So if you can't stand on one leg for 10 seconds with your eyes closed, you have a greater probability of falling. You have a greater probability of being susceptible to diseases like diabetes, obesity, metabolic syndromes,
Wow,
various
I did
different
not know
conditions.
that.
So it's now, British Journal of Sports Medicine published an article relating it to all-cause mortality, meaning all conditions related to poor balance.
What?
So
I did not know that. That is so interesting.
it is interesting. And again, we don't notice we're losing our balance until we're much older and we start walking with a wider stance. Things like that happen as we accommodate. The body's very good at adapting. So we want to try to implement balance sooner in life. And I used to teach at the University of Ottawa in Canada, and I would test my students every year. And this is a third-year university age group in human kinetics, where most of them were fairly active.
Yeah.
And really about 90% of them still would fail the balance test.
Wow.
So it's
at 30 years old.
at under 30 years
Can you
old.
imagine what ours look like?
So, and now we
Wow.
have all of the postural changes happening with using the phone. So young people have their
Sure.
forward head posture, which changes where their center of mass is, and that's where, that's where we're having problems with young people having balance issues.
It's an interesting topic, right? Because if we think of kids using their phones so early in life, right? And like you're saying, that completely changes your general posture. Because on hours, kids nowadays are on their phones, changing everything and their balance. Would that make them more susceptible to, like you were saying, diabetes and different kinds of diseases? And like, can we say that? That's
I
almost
don't
like
think we could say that necessarily, that specifically, but we do know that in the U.S., the number one reason for emergency room visits is, in all age categories, is falling.
Wow.
So, even when you are younger, you might not be falling just from walking, but doing the types of activities that young people do without good balance training will also make them more susceptible to falling.
That is
so if they aren't balanced well to start with when they're doing these activities that are that they just take for granted at that age, then yes, they can still be susceptible to falling.
So in terms of health and nutrition, how do you implement that? Is there certain food groups in general that you feel people should stay away from, or do you kind of assess patient to patient? Like, how do you?
So I'm not a fan of eliminating an entire food group. So we need fats, we need proteins, we need carbohydrates. It's just the selections within those groups and how much of those that you're eating is where that balance lies again. So with nutrition in our practice, we do more looking at biomarkers, things, what's going on, what is your nutritional status. So it's not always about just providing people with a bunch of supplements. We need to look at what your baseline nutritional status is, and then boost you up. If you're depleted in something, you need help getting that back. But then it's also about changing what you're eating to get the things that you particularly need in your diet. So, not everybody has, allergies to milk or gluten or whatever. And there's a lot of people cutting out entire food groups like grains. And I don't think over the long haul that's a healthy way to be looking at it, because all of our cells need all of those components to be built properly in the first place. And you want to establish a good foundation with your cells. So having all the pieces that it needs to be built with is going to help you out in the long term.
Yeah, I totally agree. Again, that balance, right? Sometimes people just go completely out of balance, like now know this or know that. And yeah, we need all of the food groups just to make healthy choices inside those food groups. It's tough though, because I'm thinking if I just try and stay away from sugar for a while, or try and drink less coffee, or like, it's so quickly that we fall into a habit.
Right. And
it's those bad habits, right? That is so tough to break. How do you get these patients to like, I would almost say mental coaching? Do you stand alongside them? Like, how do they conquer those?
It is
bad habits.
Truly about changing habits, and habits change in small little increments, small tasks at a time, maybe a 5-minute task each day to help you start to move forward. So weight loss, for example, or getting rid of sugar, it's not, oh, I need to lose 20 pounds in 4 weeks. That's not a realistic goal. Weight takes a long time to come off, as does changing a habit. So getting rid of sugar and willpowering it, some people can do that, but for the most part, most of us cannot just willpower through something. It's not long lasting. It needs to be a change that you're ready, willing, and able to do at that time. And it's small little increments over time that come into play. And sometimes it's unrealistic to say, well, I'm not going to eat any sugar or any form of sugar because it's just everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's okay sometimes to just, have a cheat day or whatever that is. Just get back on track.
Don't have a cheat week or a cheat year.
Cheat week turns into exactly.
Because it's normally the cheat years that turn into the extra 10 or 20 pounds. Yeah. And then it takes, the same amount of time to reverse that, and even longer, because our bodies, the metabolism, is slower. Changes. So the fact that you're combining healthy eating and nutrition with the chiropractic, do you find that people who are better aligned and balanced, is it easier for them to lose weight? Is there like a connection there, or not really? Is it just both very beneficial?
I think it's a lot of the people that will come to see me because of our sort of philosophies are already at that position. I said ready, willing, and able earlier. There's a certain point at which, you think about, oh, I'm going to join the gym. I'm going to join the gym. I'm thinking about joining the gym.
I really want to join the gym.
Then it takes a little while, and then finally you join the gym, but then you actually have to go to the gym. Yeah. So it's those steps, being able to get past those steps. And so a lot of times people that do come to see me have already gotten through that part, and they've already taken their first steps towards something. So I will see a difference between that. And then there's sort of the group where you feel like you're sort of convincing them. And I find that convincing never really works.
Yeah, so they themselves have to understand the why. I kind of felt that in my own life. Once I understand the why better, that helps me to keep on track a little bit better than just wanting to lose weight or wanting to look, I don't know, right? If there's a bigger reason for something, you find that why in yourself. I don't know. That works for me.
Different circumstances, different people's lives as well. If someone's feeling that they're too busy to take on a task like a lifestyle change, that's a huge change that you're committing to. So being able to look at contingencies and saying, this one little step, I might have to do this 5-minute task for the next 3 months, but that's all I can fit into my life right now. That's a step forward.
Yeah.
And embracing that and feeling good about that is part of the change.
And it is good. You do feel good when you've made positive changes and established new positive habits, right? Because it's so easy I think that's where they say you fall into a bad habit, right? You fall into it. It's just easy, right?
Right.
Bad habits are so easy. And then getting out of that, holy smokes, it's not easy.
It's not easy.
Yeah. Is there any specific advice that you can give to the viewers watching, saying, I want to change my life. I want to become more balanced. Where do they start? Like, what's the first step to just start and take that first step?
I think really does depend on the individual. So, you know, in this day and age of, you know, we have an obesity crisis, we have a lot of people needing to lose weight. There's lots of options available. It's really about that, getting into that mental state of, yep, I'm ready to do this. And now what am I going to do to take that first step? And that can, it doesn't matter whether that's getting on the balance machine and testing and get your balance done, or it's getting started on a nutrition plan, or it's taking care of an old injury that's happened before. Just starting something is going to help with all of it down the line. And then you can put a plan together. And, you know, a lot of times I'll have people, they'll say, well, I don't want to do the balance right now because I have, you know, this ankle injury. And I'm thinking, well, let's see what we can do about the ankle injury if that's the barrier. So being able to recognize what things are holding you back from doing what you want to do and getting what you want to achieve, I think is the biggest piece.
Yeah. And as you're speaking, I just picture that whole holistic wellness, because that's what you guys are about, right? Like you say, they're coming, but there might be a block, like maybe a bad ankle, and just finding that block in your life. And that's something that you help your patients with in such a beautiful way. I love coming to you. It's really just so beautiful. It's always so peaceful and calming, and just your way of, you know, you just feel so loved when you come in there. You can feel that you really want to help your patients. Was it something that you grew up with, or did you ever think that this is going to be the path that you're going to be on, or how did that start for you?
I think mostly it started with, I used to be a figure skater, and I got injured and went to see someone who was very specifically sports injury rehabilitation and worked with athletes and all of that. Now, I can't actually remember how old I was, but it was probably in my early teens. And I thought, this is kind of cool. Like, this is a very specific thing, and it's getting people who, you know, I got so bad with my injury because I didn't go and see anybody, and I was just like, oh, tough it through. And back then, that was how everything was done in sports. You just suck it up and keep on going.
Suck it up and be brave, right?
So, you know, it got so bad I could barely walk, and they got me back in no time, really, for the degree of injury that I had. So I was really keen on that, and it took me a while to find the training to be able to do that kind of work. So the sports injury field for me has been very exciting. It's rewarding when you see that your guidance helps people to perform better and those sorts of things. So between that and teaching in the sports injury field, I just really enjoyed the interactions with people. Some of the different types of courses that I've taken have allowed me to do some extra work as well on deeper tissue work and stuff like that. So it's just always been exciting to me to see a transformation in somebody. And I often will say to, you know, the patient, it's like, you're responsible for your recovery. I will guide you through that. You know, I'll help you in any way I can to navigate this, and here's the stuff you need. Here's your homework. You know, you have to take that on yourself. And working with athletes, it's not hard. Most of the time you actually have to rein them in instead of getting them...
Because they're so goal-driven, right? They have a goal. Yeah.
And so taking that across into the general population, it's the same thing. Everyone is the same as an athlete, really. They've just got their motivations and all of those things. So it's really trying to help them navigate getting better for whatever getting better is to that person. And sometimes it's not what you came in for in the first place. Sometimes it's something completely different. And that's fun for me. The puzzle is fun for me. The helping to drive people through their gauntlet is interesting to me. It helps me learn more. It's just exciting.
Yeah, you could see it. I always sense that around you. It's a beautiful thing. So you also do animals, which is quite interesting, and mostly dogs, cats, and I think horses. Right? So what does that do for them? How would you know that your animal needs that? Like, how would a general person just, go about that?
So with the animals, if they're in pain, so most people who have pets, they'll recognize when their animals are in pain. So that's easy, again, through an exam. You can find painful spots, and animals will let you know in different ways. It might just be a movement, it might be a snap, it might be a scratch, it might, they're going to let you know that they're hurting somewhere. And it's the same as what we do on humans. We feel for the different movement in the different segments in the spine and in the joints, and then we can adjust them from there. So a lot of times, I got into this through craniosacral therapy. So back in Canada, I used to work with some horses. My son was in equestrian hunter jumper. So I worked with some of the horses doing craniosacral therapy, and then same thing when I got into the chiropractic piece, I was like, oh, I could do this for chiropractic too. Yeah. And they let you know, the animals let you know. They come to you, they lean on you, you can adjust them, and sometimes they just walk away when they're done.
Amazing.
That's it. And they're pretty intuitive.
Does horses need like regular alignment, would you think? Because my daughter did horse riding also, and show jumping in particular. And I feel like, when a rider is on a horse and that rider is unbalanced, and now they're sitting on the horse unbalanced, would that make the horse unbalanced also? So would it be in generally just good for them to have sessions both? Rider and horse?
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely. Exactly what you're saying. Yeah. Especially, pelvic alignments and things like that. In a human, it's going to change what's happening on the horse as well. So they go both ways. The horse can add
you can
to the
align the horse
problem.
and then they'll have the rider get on, and then they'll be all disaligned again, right? So yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, so just like any other, they're working animals. So yeah, they get injured and they get strains and sprains and things like that.
But for horses, you would need to go out, right?
I would need to go to the barn.
They're not going to come and visit your clinic.
In my office.
But the dogs and cats, they can come into the clinic, or do you also go?
I have a space aside for the
that's
for the
amazing.
Small animals.
Yeah, and it's a kind of a healthy way first to treat the animal and see if that doesn't help. Yeah.
And here in Florida, I need a referral from a vet. So if somebody wanted to come and see me, they need to see their vet first and get the referral, and then come in here.
And then come through. That is so interesting. There are so many things available nowadays that we never had. Like you say, in my days, you just, suck it up and power through. But actually prevention is always better than cure, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing about prevention, that it's, we can say through the research we know these things prevent, but you can't guarantee that you're not going to have a fall, let's say, for doing a balanced therapy regimen. It doesn't mean you're not going to fall, but it does help improve your ability to maintain balance.
Yeah, I think for me, coming to you and having some sessions and things was, I had consistently now afterwards, I'm more aware of my posture. Like I would even sleep at night and like stretch. I'd hear your voice in my sleep. I'm like, stretch out your spine. And it's actually so incredible that you're just more aware of being stretched up and aligned and balanced. And you just to be aware of it already is like a really good start to change. I love it. Yeah, very cool. So I hear your voice in my sleep now. It's a good thing. Karen, any last wisdom or thoughts that you want to share with our guests in terms of, looking after themselves and holistic health before we close?
Well, I think in general, it's just important for everybody to take care of themselves. And it's hard sometimes when you've got family and you've got work and all of those things. Most of us put ourselves last in line for health, and I think that just maybe flipping that script and starting to look at yourself first, and giving yourself credit for doing those small changes, and taking those steps and not get discouraged when maybe the scale isn't going in your favor or whatever. Just keep doing the good habits and they will eventually turn into what you want them to be.
I love it. As you're speaking, I'm literally envisioning that picture when you're on an airplane and they say, you know, put the oxygen mask on yourself first and then give it to your child, right? And it's almost that thing like take care of yourself first and then everything else is better afterwards. Moms tend to not do that. Well, people
Moms
sometimes in general, right?
Yeah.
Take care of everybody else instead of themselves.
And
but
that
actually it should be the other
analogy,
way around.
It's the perfect analogy, what you said about the airplane, because even then your children are watching you.
Yeah.
And they're watching you not take care of yourself. And so that's what they're learning too. So taking care of yourself first is going to translate through the generations.
Powerful. Thank you so much for visiting with us and sharing your incredible wisdom.
Well, thank you for having me today.
And that is it from me, Lorna Grayling and M-powerTV. If you would like to get in touch with Dr. Karen, her details will be on the screen and also in the show notes. Please don't forget to like, share and subscribe to our episodes. And until next week, goodbye.